Now, if you're over 50 and you started struggling with distance off the tee, it may have nothing to do with your age at all, but it may have everything to do with your approach into the ball. Now, this is the best angle, I think, to show you how you approach the ball this way. If you're coming at the ball down and across, something like this. So at the last foot, your club is higher than it should be. The face is open and you're cutting across from out to in. And then on top of that, you're going to take this elbow and this arm and you're going to pull the handle through with it. So that move would look something like this. Notice that I'm pulling the handle through kind of like this, and I'm going to end up with a follow through that looks something like this with my elbow sticking out in the chicken wing. And of course, this is not only going to greatly curtail your club head speed, but it's also, you're hitting the ball at such a disadvantaged angle. By hitting down on it, you're going to create less distance, you're going to create more slice spin, or potentially pull it too, but in general, you're not going to get much distance at all, no matter how much effort. Doesn't matter how strong you are. This has nothing to do with having to go to the gym or stretch and get more flexible. This has to do with approaching the ball from the right angle and releasing the club head. And so we got to do something opposite than this. This would be down and across, pulling the handle through and not releasing the club head. So instead, we would really love to replace that behavior with a club head that comes lower to the ground earlier, somewhere like this, inside the ball, coming around on a curve and hitting the ball on the upswing. So if I bottomed out far enough back just to show you the concept, I would actually need about a 6-inch or 8-inch high tee because I'm hitting up on the ball with so much angle like this. But notice, even though it looks like I'm going to hit the ball out to right field right now, so I'm way inside the target line here, but as the club approaches the ball, it's coming around the circle, and by the time it strikes the ball, you can see the path of the club head is right at you, very straight down the middle of the fairway. So that is a complete antithesis, down and across, or you can be under and up on it instead. Now, I've posted the TrackMan distance chart. You can find your club head speed, and you can see the difference between hitting down and hitting up. It's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 30 yards right off the bat, but there's going to be a lot more to it. That's just by changing the angle from down to up, but you're going to get another 25, 30 yards out of releasing the club instead of pulling the elbow through as well. So let's take a look at what that looks like from down the line. Remember, we have the club bottoming out prior to impact. Reaching its low point, 5 or 6 inches behind the ball would be fantastic. And it's going to be inside the target line at this point, and it turns upwards and squares up with the target right in those last 5 or 6 inches. So you actually end up getting a very straight path and straight face. But now, let's extend that back. What would that look like? If it's going to be right here prior to impact, probably going to have to come from here, and this is certainly a lot more low and on the inside than a lot of people out there are used to. See, what you're used to doing is you're putting the club over here, the arm is way on the outside and high, and now we have our down and across approach, which leads to not very much carry, a lot of slice spin, and a lot of short distances. So here's a great exercise you can do to get the feel for coming in more from the inside and shallow. This is an extreme drill. So once you do this a few times, this can really help fix the worst over-the-top steep slicer. But it's extreme, and so you're only gonna, when you actually go to hit the ball, you're just gonna take a little bit of this to it. Imagine that you're on a baseball diamond. So we're gonna pretend this square is a baseball diamond. This will be home. This is gonna be second, which puts this third and pitcher's right in the middle. So all I'd want you to do in this exercise to get a feel for coming at the ball at the right angle is I want you to stand in your normal spot to the ball, and I want you to put the club over by third base. In this case, we're kind of by the third base coach. Put it on the ground here and put your arms on it. You'll see your body is kind of in a little different position It's not an over the top position, but it's instead, it's a little bit tilted and the back's to the target a little bit more. Now remember, this is extreme. But now what I want you to do is I want you to swing. You're going to stand on second base here, club's on third. And I want you to swing straight over the pitcher's head, up over first base and out into right field here, like this. And you're going to feel this low to high and inside to outside. And on top of that, what I want you to do is make the forearms cross over. So watch as my right forearm passes over the top of the folding left. Scrape and roll the forearm. Scrape and roll the forearm. So that gives you a feeling for coming extreme on the inside and upwards, a feeling that a lot of you out there who aren't getting distance are really going to need. Now those moves go together. You cannot bring this thing in from third base across to first and then yank on the handle, because then you're going to get a push and a slice. But now that we're correctly coming at the right angle to get distance, now we've got to release the club head. Now there's a phrase you've heard before, probably an awful lot, but maybe you don't know exactly what it means, releasing the club head. Well, certainly what the typical golfer does to pull the handle or pull the left arm through this way, you can see what happens is the club head, no matter how hard you tried to push on the shaft to make the head try to catch up with the handle, it's not going to, because the pulling action makes the head want to fall in line with the handle's pull. And therefore, you've got a kind of a negative working against your positive, and you're not going to get any kind of response. And that's why you get this short hitting open face slice going for you. What I would define releasing the club head is applying torque by trying to uncock the wrists and causing the club to go past the handle this way. The freer and the faster, the better. So you've got to learn how to make this club go from 90 degrees cocked to 90 degrees cocked to the right forearm here without doing any pulling at all of the handle. Isolated, it would look something like this, like that. Now, certainly in isolation, this looks pretty funny, but what you have is you have an on-time release of the club head. That means sending the club head freely past the handle, and I am not advancing the handle by trying to pull it through. This would certainly give me upstrike, square or closed club face, so I'm not going to slice it. It's going to give me a heck of a lot more distance, especially when I blend back in. Now the pivot, there's that same motion, this motion, well, I pivot through, and now it starts to look like it makes sense. So let's look at that move by move. The left arm cannot pull, but rather the left arm is going to stay across the chest. Let the chest advance the arm instead, so it's going to kind of hang out and relax. Kind of feel like it's kind of locked back across the chest. Meanwhile, you're going to make the entire arm, see, I've got the logo of the glove towards the camera, do a 180 degree motion from the shoulder. This is an entire arm rolling 180 degrees, and you can see as I go, my wrist is in this position, and then my wrist is going to go into this position. So we have the wrist is turned upwards to cock the wrist. We're going to let go of that, and in fact we're going to do this motion forcefully at first in the very beginning of the motion. Then the arm's going to go over. It's going to fold at the elbow. See, my left elbow is already bent a little bit. And then my left wrist is going to get bent back into this position. And then we have a good release with the left arm. Now the right arm, all it's got to do is going to straighten at the elbow. And the forearm is going to turn and it's going to roll this way. So together, we've got that 180 degree motion to throw the club head past the handle with the right forearm working over the folding left. The right arm is extending as much as you can out into space. And the wrists or bending to cause the club to rehinge again upwards. Now, real magic is going to happen when you can do both of these things together. When you can come in from this low and inside, upward striking path into the ball, and then you can have a good solid release of the club head, throwing it, making it swoosh rather than pulling it. That would be powerless effort and effortless power. Now you put those two things together and you can get a lot of distance even if your club head speed isn't that high. We're talking about maximizing the distance efficiency. I'll give you a shot at me coming upwards from the inside and releasing it. Will look like this. Now from this angle, again, you're seeing club head coming from the inside, turning upwards, and I'm going to release it. And that'll look something like that from this angle. So it's a free whipping of the club head without pulling on it, coming in from the right angle, release it from the inside. I'm not even going to swing that hard here, but I just want to show you how much distance you can get for relative lack of club head speed when you have these two principles. Wow, that ball was hit a long way, even though my swing was pretty easy. So here you've got the stats on the screen. It's a 93 mile an hour swing, which I know it's still beyond a few of you out there. Now here are the stats on the screen. It's only 93 miles per hour, so a fairly slow swing for me. But I got 265 yards out of that 93 miles an hour. Why is that? It's because I came from the right angle, hitting up on it square. That produced higher launch angle, and because I had less spin loft at the moment of impact, my spin rate was very low. So high launch from hitting up, low spin, making the ball fly high and turn over like a parabolic arc and hit like a super ball and run 30 or 40 yards is going to give you the maximum possible distance for your club head speed. So I want you to start replacing this sawing motion from down and across this year. Try this drill. Try the third base, first base drill. Third base across, above, up and over first base, while the right forearm passes completely over the top of the folding left, and release that club head. You start releasing it from the inside and you are going to be in a completely different world of distance. I've seen a lot of golfers in person, in one lesson even, pick up 40 or 50 yards very quickly. Hey, thanks so much for watching all the way through the video. Would you do me a favor, if you got some value out of this, would you please go down and hit the like button, maybe even leave a comment, especially if you have a good question about what I covered today. Check out my website, hititlonger.com, if you need any further support or even one-on-one instruction or video analysis. Then you can also email me at this address. As usual, I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you longer and straighter down the fairway. Everybody take good care.